I saw the ring before I saw the truth. It glimmered under the warm light of the jewelry store, tucked into its little velvet box. Gold band, antique setting, a single round diamond that caught the light like a wink. He said it had been in his family for generations. His grandmothers, maybe even great-grandmothers. That's what made it special, he said. And I loved that. I really did. I wasn't one of those girls who needed a new ring. A big, flashy thing. I liked the idea of something with history. Something worn. Something that had lasted. At least, I thought I did. That was almost 2 years ago. 2 years, 4 months, and 11 days to be exact. Now I can't even look at it without wanting to throw up. The truth didn't come in a dramatic moment. No grand confession or teary breakdown. It came casually, silently, through a screen, like so many betrayals do these days. It was a Thursday. Boring, rainy, uneventful. I was at home, sitting at the kitchen counter with my laptop, half working, half scrolling. David was at work. He'd just texted me about being stuck in traffic after a sales meeting. I still have the message. David. Bumper to bumper on I-5. Will be late. Love you. So I kept scrolling. I was trying to find a photographer for our 1-year anniversary shoot. Nothing major, just a few candid-style pictures to post, maybe frame. Something sweet. We'd had a rough start to the year, and I thought this might help. A little celebration. A fresh page. I typed Seattle engagement photographers into the search bar, went down a few rabbit holes, and then found myself on Instagram. That's when it happened. That's when I saw her. Her name was Melissa Langford, and the ring on her finger? It was mine. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. The photo was old, dated August 2019. I squinted, heart pounding, trying to be logical. Lots of antique rings look alike, right? Simple bands, solitaire diamonds. It could have been a trend. But the more I zoomed in, the more my stomach sank. The band had the same delicate leaf engraving on either side of the stone, the same platinum inlay along the bottom, the same slightly tilted diamond. I always thought it was charming, like the stone had its own attitude. But now it just looked crooked. And then I saw the caption. He asked. I said yes. 8/17/19. Forever starts now. And the tag? At David McKinney Nathree. My David. Same username. Same man. Same ring. The blood drained from my body so fast I swear my toes went cold. I stared at the screen like it had slapped me. Then I double-checked the date. 2019. 3 years before we got engaged. I clicked through her page. Numb. More photos. A trip to Mexico. A birthday dinner. A blurry boomerang of them clinking champagne glasses in front of a Christmas tree. One post had a comment from him. David. McKinney 93. Luckiest guy alive. I wasn't breathing. I scrolled all the way to the end of her profile and hit the final post. A grainy quote pic that read, "Healing isn't linear." No more couple photos after that. No dramatic breakup announcement. No posts at all for almost 6 months. And then, just like that, she started posting again. Solo. Hiking trails, coffee shops, a new cat. Nothing about him. It looked like she'd moved on. But I hadn't even begun to understand what I was looking at. I went to our bedroom, opened the top drawer of my nightstand, and pulled out my ring box. I hadn't worn the ring in weeks. Just hadn't felt like it. I told David it was because I was doing more yoga lately, and the band dug into my finger. He didn't question it. But now, under the bright vanity light, I held it up to the screen. Side by side with Melissa's post. Same. Exact. Ring. I felt sick. I texted him. Me. Whose ring is this? Nothing. Me. David. Still nothing. Me. Come home. Now. I stared at those little gray delivered check marks, willing them to turn blue. When they finally did, he still didn't reply. He walked in the door an hour later like nothing was wrong. Dropped his laptop bag on the counter, kicked off his shoes, and asked, "Hey babe, what's for dinner?" I didn't answer. I just stood in the doorway, holding my phone. He looked up and froze when he saw my face. "What's going on?" he asked slowly. I turned the screen toward him. Melissa's ring photo, full brightness. "Want to explain this?" He blinked, then exhaled. "Where'd you find that?" "So it's true?" I asked. He didn't say yes. He didn't have to. He rubbed his jaw, looked at the ceiling, and said, "Look, I didn't think you'd ever see that. I wasn't trying to hide anything. It just didn't seem important." That was the moment something inside me cracked. "Not important? You gave me her ring." He flinched. "It's not her ring. She gave it back. It's mine." I just stared at him. He shrugged. "It's a perfectly good ring. I paid for it. What was I supposed to do? Melt it down? Throw it away?" "You lied. You said it was your grandmother's." "That was just easier. You got so emotional about the history and the heirloom thing. I didn't want to ruin it." I felt like I was watching someone else. A stranger. Some man who looked like my husband, but sounded like a sociopath. "You let me believe it had meaning," I whispered. "It does have meaning," he said, stepping closer. "We gave it meaning." I stepped back. "No, she gave it meaning. You gave it to her. And now every time I look at it, I'm going to see her finger." His face hardened. "So what, you want a new ring? Is that it? This is about the diamond?" "No," I said. "This is about the lie." I didn't sleep that night. He slept on the couch without being asked. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, scrolling back, through every moment I could remember of our engagement. The way he slid the ring on my finger. The look on his face. The tears in his eyes. Were they real? Was any of it real? The next morning, I emailed 3 marriage counselors. I told him we'd go, that I wasn't walking away without at least trying to understand this. He agreed. We did 6 sessions over the next 3 months. He apologized, explained, rationalized, said it was financially practical, said he never expected me to find out, said the ring didn't matter. We mattered. But every time I looked at it, I saw her. And eventually, I started seeing other things too. His mood swings. The way he always kept his phone face down. The nights he worked late but never had any new projects to show for it. It was like the ring had unlocked something in me. A door I hadn't realized was sealed shut. And behind it was more. Much more. I kept the ring in a drawer after that. I couldn't bring myself to wear it, but I couldn't let it go either. It felt like a ticking bomb. Quiet. Heavy. Always humming beneath the surface. The therapy sessions made things seem better on the outside. We talked more. He brought me flowers a couple times, made dinner once a week like he used to when we were dating. He even suggested we plan a weekend away. Just the 2 of us. No phones. But none of it settled right. Every word felt like a performance. Every small gesture was polished like a cover story. And I started watching him more closely. One night in March, he went to bed early. Claimed he had a headache, muttered something about screens messing with his eyes. I waited until I heard his breathing deepen, then quietly slipped his phone from the charger. I know. That makes me the bad guy. The paranoid wife. The untrusting, snooping cliché. But I had to know. I used his thumb to unlock the screen. My hands were shaking. I didn't even know what I was looking for. At first, there was nothing. The usual apps, work emails, Spotify, a couple of group chats with his fantasy football buddies. Nothing suspicious. Until I opened his deleted photos. And saw the screenshot. It was a text thread. A conversation between him and a contact saved as M. The screenshot was blurry, but the words were clear enough. M? So she still doesn't know? David. Of course not. She'd freak. You know how dramatic she gets. Below that, a cropped image of me. From behind, in our kitchen, wearing my old college sweatshirt, hair in a messy bun, stirring pasta at the stove. It wasn't a selfie. It was taken secretly. Quietly. like I was being observed. I felt sick. I kept scrolling through the recently deleted folder. The rest of the screenshots were older. Some text messages, some photos, a few selfies of M in hotel rooms. Nothing fully explicit, but nothing innocent either. My stomach knotted. I checked the phone's backup settings. He'd disabled iCloud, photosync. Clever, but not clever enough. I took screenshots of everything and airdropped them to my laptop. Then I put the phone back, went to the bathroom, locked the door, and sat on the edge of the tub with my hands over my mouth. The silence of our house suddenly felt like a scream. The next morning, I made him breakfast. Waffles, scrambled eggs, fresh coffee, the works. I watched him eat while I sat across the table, smiling like I was still the woman he thought I was. He kissed my cheek before leaving for work. Said, "I love you." I said it back, and that's when I decided I was going to leave him. But not yet. Not until I had the full story. Not until I had her. It took me 3 weeks to find Melissa Langford. Turns out, she'd moved to Oregon. Worked at a nonprofit for domestic violence survivors. Her Instagram was public, but quiet. Lots of inspirational quotes. Photos of her cat. A few nature shots. No current relationship posts. I debated for days. Then one night, I opened a blank message and just typed, "Hi, Melissa. You don't know me, but I think we have something in common. I'm married to David McKinney. I believe you were once engaged to him. I have a few questions if you're open to it." I hit send. She responded 18 minutes later. Melissa. "Oh, wow. Okay. I'm free to talk. Just tell me one thing first. Did he ever tell you about the hotel room in Denver?" That's when I knew I wasn't crazy. We ended up talking on the phone that night for almost 2 hours. She was calm, measured, direct. Told me they'd been together for nearly 4 years. That he proposed after a huge fight like it was a peace offering. That he cheated on her at least once, maybe more. That he gaslit her constantly. That she found hotel receipts, Lyft rides at 3 a.m., hidden profiles on Bumble and Field. And that when she finally confronted him, he told her she was too sensitive. That she needed help. That she was imagining things. She said she gave the ring back because she didn't want to carry that energy with her. "It wasn't mine anymore," she told me. It never really was. I told her about the reuse, about the lie, about the therapy, the M texts, the photo. She wasn't surprised. "It's what he does," she said. "He creates a story, and if you try to rewrite it, he turns you into the villain." I sat on the bathroom floor, phone pressed to my cheek, my heart hollowed out. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "I know it doesn't help, but I am." It did help, though. In a weird way, because I wasn't alone anymore. And now, I had proof. I spent the next few weeks gathering more. Receipts, chat logs, screenshots. I bought a second phone and installed a voice recorder app that auto-saved our conversations. I wasn't planning to go nuclear, but I was planning to protect myself. I saw a lawyer. Quietly. Found out David's name was the only one on the aita mortgage, but my name was on the utilities, on the joint accounts, on the life insurance policies. Turns out, that made me responsible for more than I realized, but it also gave me leverage. I stayed calm, collected, said all the right things during therapy. He thought we were making progress. He had no idea I was building an escape hatch. And the final push came the night I saw him with her. I was coming back from Trader Joe's. I'd parked down the street because our garage remote was glitching again. And as I turned the corner, I saw his car, parked across the street. Windows fogged, slight movement in the passenger seat. At first, I froze. Then I stepped back into the shadows behind a neighbor's hedge and watched. After about 2 minutes, the passenger door opened. She stepped out. Tall, red coat, blonde hair pulled back in a braid. I recognized her immediately. Melissa. And David followed behind. She didn't kiss him, didn't even hug him, but he grabbed her hand as they stood there whispering, and she pulled away. Then she looked over her shoulder, right at me, our eyes locked, and she nodded. Once, before walking away. He didn't see me, but I saw everything I needed to see. And the next morning, I left. I waited until he left for work. Then I packed what I could in 2 suitcases and shoved them in the back of my old Corolla. I'd already transferred half our joint funds to a new solo account the week prior, canceled all my subscriptions, changed the mailing address on every single bill. Then I left my ring on the kitchen counter, alongside a flash drive labeled The Truth. I didn't leave a note. He didn't deserve one. I drove 3 hours north to my sister's guest house in Bellingham and collapsed on her couch with a bottle of red wine and the weight of 4 years lifting off my shoulders. The texts started coming that night. David, where are you? David, is this a joke? David, come home. We can fix this. David, you left me? After everything? And finally, David, what the fuck is this flash drive? I never replied. 2 days later, Melissa called me again. I'm sorry, she said. I shouldn't have met with him, I just needed closure. I get it, I said. You gave me closure too. Are you okay? No, I admitted. But I will be. There was a pause. Then she said, you know, you're the only person who's ever believed me. That hit hard. And it made me realize something. So much of what we endure, so much of what women tolerate, stays hidden, shrouded in politeness, dismissed as sensitive, emotional, overreacting. But when you connect the threads, when you lay them out side by side, it's impossible not to see the pattern. And sometimes, exposing the pattern is the most powerful thing you can do. I thought the hard part would be leaving. It wasn't. The hard part was everything that came after. The quiet, the recoil, the way your mind plays tricks on you when the adrenaline fades. When you're sitting in a room that isn't yours, surrounded by borrowed throw pillows and the echo of your own thoughts. I kept asking myself if I'd overreacted. If maybe it hadn't been that bad. After all, he didn't hit me. He didn't steal from me. He didn't scream or throw things or block the door. He didn't do any of the things we're taught to look for in abuse. But he did lie. Gaslight. Manipulate. Hide. Twist. Deflect. He turned a lie into a love story. And that is its own kind of violence. My sister, Rachel, didn't ask questions the first few days. She just handed me a mug of tea every morning and said, "Shower's free if you want it." I didn't want it, not at first. But on the 4th day, she sat next to me on the couch and said, "You haven't even told Mom." I shook my head. She paused. "You planning to?" I didn't answer. She leaned back and sighed. "You know she's gonna blame you." I nodded. Rachel knew our mom well. I called my mom the next day. I kept it brief. Told her I'd left David, that it was complicated, that I was safe, that I'd explain later. There was a pause. Then she said, "What did you do?" Not what happened. Not are you okay. Just that. I don't know why I expected more. She adored David, called him her bonus son. Always posted photos of him grilling at family barbecues, captioned with stuff like, "Best son-in-law ever." He was good at playing the long game. And she was an easy audience. I didn't do anything, I told her. He lied. He cheated. He gave me a used engagement ring and told me it was his grandmother's. Another long pause. Then, "That's not ideal. But honey, people make mistakes. Marriage is hard. You can't just run every time it gets uncomfortable." I blinked. I didn't run. I left. That's what I'm saying. You left, without even trying to fix it. We did therapy for 3 months. She huffed. Therapy isn't a magic bullet. Maybe you should have stayed longer. I could feel my throat tightening. "I'm not asking for advice," I said finally. "Just letting you know I'm safe." "Well," she said, voice clipped, "I hope you figure out what you want." Then she hung up. Rachel found me sitting on the floor of the guest bathroom 20 minutes later. Mascara streaked, shoulders shaking. She didn't say anything, just sat down next to me and handed me a cold washcloth. I buried my face in it. "She thinks I'm dramatic." Rachel shrugged. She thinks I'm dramatic too. I just wanted to be believed. You are. By me. And in that moment, I remembered something Melissa said on the phone. You're the only person who ever believed me. It echoed in my chest like a bell. I started documenting everything. Every text David sent, every voicemail, every accidental Venmo request, every passive-aggressive email about unfinished financial matters. He was unraveling, and I was just beginning to tighten the thread. Melissa and I started talking more after that. We texted almost every day. She told me about the man she was seeing now. Quiet, kind, lived alone with 2 dogs, and taught high school history. He never makes me question myself, she said. I told her about my sister's strange obsession with watching shark documentaries before bed. Comfort TV, she claimed. We laughed. A lot, actually. And then one night, Melissa sent me a photo. It was a picture of her ring finger. No ring, just a tiny tattoo. A leaf. A symbol, she said, of letting go. I stared at it for a long time. And then I made an appointment. 2 weeks later, I sold the ring. Not pawned, not melted, sold to a vintage jewelry boutique that specialized in reclaimed love stories. The woman who appraised it raised her eyebrows when I told her the diamond's history. Most women don't let go of stuff like this, she said. I smiled. Most women aren't me. She offered me $3,200. I took it. And that night, I bought myself something new. A thin silver band. No diamond, no engraving, just a simple, quiet symbol of survival. David emailed me the next morning. Subject line, you sold it? That ring was worth 10 grand. You had no right. It was mine before it was yours. I want the money back. I didn't reply, but I did forward it to my lawyer. 3 days later, David showed up at my sister's house. Unannounced. Middle of the afternoon. Rachel was at work. I was in leggings and a hoodie, no bra, eating microwaved mac and cheese out of a Tupperware. The doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and froze. He had flowers. A huge bouquet of white lilies, my favorite. He smiled when I opened the door. Hi. I didn't say anything. He held out the bouquet. Truce? Are you serious? He blinked. I miss you. I folded my arms. He stepped closer. Just talk to me. Please. I know I screwed up, but I never stopped loving you. You never started loving me. His face changed, like a switch flipped. Is this about her? He snapped. Are you still talking to Melissa? I raised an eyebrow. Why does that matter? He scoffed. Because she's manipulative. She wants to ruin us. You ruined us. He stepped back. The bouquet dropped slightly. You're making a mistake, he said quietly. No, I replied. I'm correcting one. He stood there a moment longer, then dropped the flowers on the porch and walked away. I watched him drive off. Then I picked up the bouquet and tossed it in the garbage. 2 hours later, I got a text. Unknown number. You think you're better than me? You're nothing without me. And then a second one. Just wait. You'll see. I didn't respond, but I did change my number the next day. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the couch, listening to Rachel snore in the next room. The fridge humming. The soft whir of the heater. I thought about Melissa. About the ring. About how many women had likely been caught in his orbit over the years. I thought about all the ways women are taught to doubt themselves, to shrink, to smooth things over. And I remembered the moment I said yes to him, how I looked at that ring and thought it was a beginning, but it was really a recycled promise, a loop. And I was the one who had to break it. A few days later, Melissa messaged me. Melissa, you up for something a little crazy? I replied, always. Melissa's message came with a location pin, a wine bar in Capitol Hill. Low lit, trendy, packed with leather-bound cocktail menus and small plates that cost too much. It was the kind of place David used to take me when he wanted to show off. The kind of place where lies looked expensive and breakups sounded civilized. I showed up on a Thursday night in a black sweater and jeans. No makeup, hair tied back. Melissa was already there. She waved from the corner booth. 2 glasses of Pinot Noir sat sweating between us. "You came," she said, sliding one over. "You texted," I replied. She smiled. "I want to propose something." I raised an eyebrow. She pulled out a small manila folder from her tote bag. "Do you remember when I asked you about Denver?" I nodded. She slid the folder across the table. Inside were printed emails, screenshots, hotel receipts, a full timeline. "He didn't just cheat," she said. "He targeted us." I flipped through the pages. There were names, other women, same patterns, engagement rings, emotional love bombs, lavish gifts followed by withdrawal, therapy when it was too late, guilt when the mask slipped, a dozen versions of the same story. "He's a collector," she said. "Not of rings, of women." I felt sick. "How do you have all this?" I reached out, quietly. Some of them sent me what they had. Some were scared. Some just wanted to be believed. My hands shook slightly. Melissa leaned in. "I want to tell the story," she said. "All of it. Not out of revenge, but so nobody else falls into the same trap." I stared at her. "Like a blog?" I asked. She shook her head. "A podcast." It sounded insane, but the more we talked, the more it made sense. We weren't naming him. Not directly. We weren't outing him on social media or dragging him through public mud. We were telling our stories, our truths. Anonymous, real, unapologetic. We called it the heirloom effect. And I swear, the name came to me like lightning. A metaphor for the way pain gets passed down. Dressed up, handed off with a smile. Like something valuable, when it's really just a curse. Melissa had a friend named Jada, who worked in audio engineering. Rachel lent us her dining room and a $60 Amazon microphone. We recorded the first episode on a rainy Sunday, surrounded by takeout containers and tangled wires. It opened with this line: "This is a story about a ring, but not the kind you think." I told everything: the lie, the discovery, the therapy, the texts, the surveillance, the confrontation, the escape. Melissa followed with hers. Jada edited the raw files, cleaned up the background noise, layered in ambient sounds, city traffic, rain, soft piano. By the end of the week, it was uploaded. We hit publish on a Tuesday night. I expected maybe 50 listens. By Friday morning, we had 10,000. By Sunday, 48,000. And by the next week, BuzzFeed emailed us. They wanted an interview. David found out by week 2. I knew the exact moment because I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Cute little podcast you've got, full of lies." I didn't reply, but I did take a screenshot. And I sent it to Melissa. She replied with a middle finger emoji. Episode 3 went deeper. It featured a new voice. Allison, who dated David in 2017. She was never engaged, but she had a near-identical story. Lavish first month. Sudden coldness. An accidental text he claimed was meant for a coworker. Except it was a naked photo of another woman. When she confronted him, he told her she was insecure, untrusting, crazy. Then he ghosted her. She spoke slowly, clearly, her voice shaking at times. But at the end of the recording, she said, "I thought I imagined all of it. I really did. Until I heard the other women speak. And I realized it wasn't my fault. None of it was." That episode broke 100,000 streams in 3 days. Melissa cried. I cried. Jada brought donuts. We high-fived in Rachel's kitchen like we'd just won a talent show. But the higher the numbers climbed, the darker the inbox got. We started getting emails. Anonymous, cruel. Some accused us of lying for attention. Some warned us to be careful who you mess with. Some were just disgusting. One read, "If you bitches were smarter, you would have seen it coming. Maybe you liked being used." I read it twice, then forwarded it to a digital safety consultant Melissa found through a nonprofit. He helped us set up two-factor authentication, email filters, and a monitoring system for our names on the dark web. Rachel started checking the porch every morning before work. We weren't afraid, but we were ready. Episode 6 was when it really exploded, because we let him speak. Not literally, but Melissa had an old voicemail from years ago. It was just his voice, half drunk, saying, "You'll never find anyone better than me. You're nothing without me. I made you." We inserted it at the end of the episode. Jada layered it under a heartbeat sound. Then silence. Then Melissa's voice, steady. "Actually, I made me, and I'm doing just fine." We woke up the next morning to headlines. Anonymous podcast destroys narcissist ex-fiancé. Women across the country speak out. Jezebel, the ring that sparked a revolution. Refinery. Heirloom lies, the story that's got TikTok talking. Daily Beast hashtags exploded. Hashtag the heirloom. Effect hashtag believe her, hashtag used ring club hashtag gaslight. No more we got DMs from therapists. Survivors. Former partners of other narcissists. People who said they'd never understood what they'd been through until they heard our words. And then, a direct message. From a name I didn't recognize at first. Ava McKinney. David's sister. She wrote, "I don't know if you'll read this, but I want you to know. I believe you. I saw it growing up. He was always like this. I just didn't know how far it went. Thank you for telling the truth." I stared at her message for a long time, and suddenly I wasn't angry anymore. Just quiet. Melissa and I didn't stop the podcast. We made it bigger. We opened it up, let other women submit their stories. Anonymous audio files. Written confessions. A hotline for anyone who just needed to scream into the void. We called it the archive. Each story was like a puzzle piece. And together, they created a map. Of survival. Of warning. Of rising. We didn't name names. We didn't need to. The patterns spoke for themselves. David stopped contacting me around episode 9. I think he realized the worst thing he could do was nothing. Let me tell my story. Let the silence become its own indictment. I still have bad days. Nights where I flinch at a notification. Days where I doubt myself. When I wonder if I overstepped. If I ruined someone's life. But then I remember. He reused a ring. A promise. He handed me something that was never meant for me. And I gave it back. Not because I was weak, but because I was done pretending that love should feel like doubt. The first time someone recognized my voice in public, I froze. It was at a coffee shop in Bellingham, a sleepy little place with steamed windows and mismatched mugs. I was ordering a chai latte when the woman behind the counter tilted her head and said, "Sorry, this is weird, but do you host the heirloom effect?" I blinked, swallowed. She added quickly, "You don't have to answer. Your voice sounds exactly like the woman from episode 1, the story with the ring." I stared at her for a second, then exhaled and said, "That's me." Her eyes welled instantly. "My sister played that episode for me," she whispered. "It made me leave my boyfriend. He wasn't like your guy, but he wasn't safe either. I didn't even realize how much I'd been tolerating until I heard you." I felt my chest tighten. "I'm so glad you're okay," she said. "Thank you for telling the truth." There's something about being believed, really, believed, that rewires you. It takes the shame you've been carrying and lights it on fire. It turns whispers into battle cries. It makes you brave. By the 1-year anniversary of the podcast, the Heirloom Effect had over 4 million streams, 600,000 subscribers, and a book deal in the works. Melissa and I had spoken at panels, women's shelters, a couple of colleges. Rachel ran our social media like a machine, clipping reels, scheduling posts, answering messages. And Jada? She quit her studio job and became our full-time producer. It felt like we'd built something real. Not just a podcast, a movement. But even then, I never expected what came next. It was a random Tuesday afternoon when my lawyer called. "Hey, you might want to sit down for this." "Uh-oh," I said, half laughing. "Am I being sued?" He paused. "No," he said. "But David is." I sat down. "What?" "Class action. Kind of. A few of the women you've interviewed, Melissa included, have retained counsel. Turns out, David's done more than just emotionally manipulate women." My stomach flipped. He continued. "He convinced multiple women to co-sign loans, racked up credit card debt in their names. One woman found out he'd used her social to open a line of credit. She had no idea until she tried to buy a car." I covered my mouth. "It's fraud," he said. "And now there's enough evidence to move forward." I wasn't part of the lawsuit. Didn't want to be. It wasn't about money for me. It never was. I just wanted the truth to have weight, to stick, to matter. And it finally was. David never responded publicly, never made a statement, never tried to sue us for defamation either. Probably because he knew the truth was too easy to prove. Last I heard, he'd moved to Phoenix, selling real estate under a new name. Melissa said she saw a photo of him on someone's LinkedIn. Looked thinner, angrier, alone. Sometimes people ask me if I ever regret doing the podcast, putting everything out there. They ask if I'm worried he'll come after me, or if I ever feel bad for ruining his life. And here's what I say. I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped letting him edit the story. Last month, I finally moved into my own place again. A 2-bedroom apartment near Green Lake. Bright kitchen, real hardwood floors, a bathtub big enough to stretch out in. Rachel cried when I signed the lease. I bought a new couch. A real one. Not the beat-up gray thing from our old house. This one's navy blue, velvet, with gold legs. It feels like sitting on a jewelry box. I also bought a ring, not for my finger, for my shelf. It's made of clay, handmade by a survivor I met at a podcast event. She said it symbolizes reclamation. She etched one word inside. Mine. Melissa and I still talk daily. We're business partners now, co-authors, co-hosts. But more than that, we're sisters in survival. Last week, she got engaged. For real this time. Her fiancé proposed on a trail overlooking the Columbia River. He used a ring he designed himself, with a stone they picked out together. It's nothing like the old one. And everything it should be. She called me crying. "He asked if I wanted to start something new," she said. "Not continue someone else's story." I cried too. And I sent her a bottle of champagne with a note that said, "May this ring be the first page, not a recycled chapter." As for my mother, she came around, eventually. After the heirloom effect hit 1,000,000 streams, she left a voicemail. 3 minutes long, lots of pauses, a few tears. She said she didn't know how to say sorry, but she was proud. That she'd listened to every episode, that she saw now what I went through. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Sometimes, repair doesn't come in a tidy bow. Sometimes, it's a cracked door, a slow thaw. I'll take it. I still have the old texts from David. I don't read them, but I don't delete them either. Because once in a while, it's good to remember who I was before I knew what I deserved. You know what I've learned? Rings don't make promises. People do. And sometimes, the best thing you can do with a broken circle is step out of it. If someone gave you a used engagement ring but claimed it was a family heirloom, would you stay or leave? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear your take.